Hey everybody, welcome to the Crunch. It's Rebecca here with Patrick. Happy Bastille Day for those of you who celebrate. Happy World Cup big match this afternoon. We're looking forward to. Patrick and I have been busy watching the World Cup and enjoying some steamy days here in Virginia as we head into kind of full summertime. Also heading into earnings time again with ServiceNow and SAP announcing next week, sort of kicking off the next quarter round of software earnings. So that'll be interesting to watch. And of course, Oracle announced the latest version of their Fusion Agentic App Builder today with some really interesting capabilities for using both no token models and more declarative workflows directly within the Agentic Builder and their AI builders. Some really interesting developments as we see folks get to this sort of second and third generation iteration of the idea of what it actually takes to build agentic AI and what that looks like. And one of the things that we've been thinking a lot about is sort of what's the most cost-effective way to build a model. And I know in some of the agents that I've been experimenting with, I found that you really don't know until you get in there what you really need to do probabilistically and what you need to do declaratively. And that's the theme for today's show. Could this LLM call have been a workflow? And to talk with me about this, I'm delighted to have somebody has frankly some of the most advanced kind of thinking around this that I've seen in the software industry today. Fred Laluyaux from Aera Technology.
Hello, how are you?
Fred, great. How are you? Thanks
Good,
so much
thank
for joining
you.
us. And
Good,
happy
good.
Bastille Day.
Yeah, you reminded me that it was Bastille Day. Actually, living here for so long, I forgot about Bastille Day. But it is a big thing. It's a big deal.
Well, you know, they say the difference between Bastille Day and the 4th of July is 10 days, and the Americans don't care about it. So,
well, today's Bastille Day. It's also the match between France and Spain on Bastille Day in the World Cup. So it's going to be a very special Bastille Day back in France, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people certainly taking the day or the evening, I guess, rather to watch the.
I just have to find a way. The game is at noon. We're in the West Coast here, and I'll be at a conference, so I have to find a way to not just look at my phone until I can get home around 5 or 6 to watch the game. That's going to be my challenge of the day, is to not get anyone buzzing me. So I'll probably won't even touch my phone until I get home.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you saw this morning, Patrick posted his picture of his outfit for the French match.
I didn't see that.
He's cheering for France, so he had his beret on. He had his beret on this morning.
Well, I'm a bit Spanish too, so I'll root for I'll cheer for France, but it's fine.
Well, it'll certainly be an interesting match to watch, but that's not what we're really here to talk about.
No, we're not talking about soccer today.
And again, thanks for joining us. I think it's this whole idea of the LLM call versus the declarative workflow, as I said, I think we're just sort of getting into now. I know Aera's done a lot of kind of interesting work there, but I want to maybe kind of take a step back first and talk about, since you were at Anaplan, we've been talking, even before that, we've been talking about sort of data-driven organizations. What's different about now? Like, I think we're in a different sort of era now in terms of what I can be and what I can do as a data-driven organization.
Well, I think that the shift that we're seeing is it sounds a little bit esoteric, but I'll explain. The shift from data-driven to decision-centric. I've been pushing that topic for probably 15, 17 years since I first wrote about it when I was at SAP. I think it was in 2010. That was before Anaplan. But the data-driven for me means limited amount of automation, means you want people to make data-driven decision. That's the word behind data-driven. I want my people to be given the right data, the right information, which is slightly different, the right capabilities to calculate, to project, to predict, to allocate, to collaborate, and then make human-in-the-loop decisions. That's the paradigm behind data-driven. Now, there are exceptions for that, but decision-centric is more what is the business outcome I'm trying to achieve? What is the decision I need to make for the business right now? And how can I automate that decision as much as possible and only bring the people to help inform the decision or manage exceptions on an as needed basis. And we're seeing that shift. I was talking earlier this morning with one of our clients. We're saying, look, we've done everything to optimize, looking at the planning function in supply chain. And they have 6,000 planners, 3,000 internal, 3,000 external, a lot of planners. And they're trying over and over to optimize. And I replace this planning tool with a better planning tool. And I put the data lake in place, and I put this and I put that. But at the end of the day, the paradigm is not shifting because you're still relying on people to make the decisions at the point of impact, which is reassign a sales order, repoint something, change your shift. And the paradigm shift that we're seeing right now in agentic comes into play in a massive manner is really the shift from people making and executing those decisions manually, data-driven, to machines making and executing the decisions guided by people, which is really the decision centricity that we're seeing in the market today. And it's starting. And we talked a lot, Rebecca, about the collapsing of the stack as well, right? So the way our enterprises today, majority of them are working, you have your transactional layer, right? Call it your transaction system of records. Then you get your systems of differentiation. I just mentioned your planning tool, but it's everything. It's all the tools that allow you to differentiate, to have this collaboration, calculation capability. And then you've got a layer of analytics on top, which we've always tried to make self-service, but never really worked because people don't know what data to look at and so on and so forth. You're seeing now the ability to collapse that stack to a slightly smarter ERP, a transactional system, and a system of intelligence on top that digitizes the work that we're expecting those advanced business operators to do every day. So you're collapsing the work, not just trying to build a better version of the planning tool or the warehouse management tool, but literally digitizing the work that people do with the tool. And that starts allowing you to run a lot faster. You can learn from the decisions that you make. You can make sure that the decisions that you make are always aligned with the policies that you have. You can dynamically inform the policies from the memory of the decisions that you made. So it's a complete paradigm shift that is not really possible when you have this three-tier model. In the three-tier model, you want to change, you want to make a change in your policy. You know, the head thinks about something, the hands on the wheels are turning the wheel, but the wheels are not really turning. The connection between the head, the wheel, and the actual wheels of the car, that's broken because you have so many layers of people and tools and systems that are, have to align for that connection to happen. When you digitize the work, the connection between I want to make a change in my policy and I'm executing in my transactional system, and I'm ensuring that every decision is aligned with the current policy, that's happening digitally. That's happening automatically. So that's the mega shift that we're starting to see right now. And that's kind of the big impact of the shift from data-driven to decision-centric.
But you're really talking about not just a change in systems, but some real changes in behavior.
Totally. 100%. But I talk to a lot of execs about this, and they look at me like, wow, is this now possible? Is it possible to imagine that if I decide to change a policy, but policies are driving how work gets done. It's process and policies. I want to bring more cash for this market segment. I want to turn that dial.
Right.
And every decision that's made to issue a credit note is aligned with that policy. That connection between a strategic intent and the validation that every small tactical or strategic decision is aligned, it's now a possibility. And it lies on the ability to leverage the latest and greatest technologies. We talk about agentic, talk deterministic, talk about all the stuff that we spent 30 years building, coming together in an operating system that allows this connection to work. It's a complete paradigm shift. It's actually incredibly important to remove the human-based inefficiencies from the way we make products, we distribute product, we sell product. It's so inefficient we're a little, we're making little improvement one step at a time. And you're realizing right now that the next unlock is to let go and let the machines do a lot of the work. And I think we're getting, in 2026, we're getting to a point with the power of agentic being one of the components of that ensemble, to help actually deploy this digitized decision logic and execution at scale. It's not possible. It was very difficult when everything had to be done deterministically. It's coding, it's heavy, and you need to find the right mix of this is our conversation from a few weeks back, but it's workflow versus agentic, right? LLMs. You want to use the LLMs to help inform the logic, find solutions to the problems that you're facing on a day-to-day basis, learn better and faster from the decisions that you make. Sometimes you leverage agentic to solve a specific tactical problem, maybe understand data coming from sources that are not structured. Maybe you have to write some stuff, but you have to really think about scaling with deterministic logic. Faster, cheaper, more reliable. So how do I leverage one technology to build and inform the other and run at scale? And so it's really interesting. I mean, I've been doing this for close to 30 years to get to that point in time in history where the forces are coming together to allow the true shift from data-driven to decision centricity. There's a real level of automation that will give us a massive unlock in the economy. Again, you think about how a company works. The brain decides some things, and then the signal has to go down X number of levels, internal, external, and then you'll measure after the fact whether the signal that came from the brain was actually effective. If you think about the whole loop of planning, which has been part of my career, it's so ineffective, right? But if you can connect the brain to the execution and ensure that everything that you do is aligned with the policies and that the policies are informed from the decisions that you're making in real time, then, with the right combination of people and intelligence, whether it's artificial or analytics, you can actually get that self-driving model, and we're doing it. We are now starting to see that.
I want to dig in a little bit more on the LLM versus declarative front, but I want to go back to something you said a bit earlier about being ready to sort of make the change and human beings being inefficient in the way we do work. One of the things that, and you and I have talked about this before, to take advantage of the kind of intelligence and the kind of AI that you're talking about at scale requires organizations to trust that the AI is going to work. And we've sort of moved into this FOMO, fear of messing up stage with AI, where people are afraid it's going to sort of run off and do something in the middle of the night that it shouldn't do, or run up a huge token bill. How do we get organizations and individuals sort of over that hump? And what do you as a vendor need to do? And what are you telling customers about getting beyond that FOMO with AI to feeling comfortable that I can let it make decisions for me, let it execute things for the business without constantly having that sort of human supervision?
First of all, we're at the beginning of that, and that FOMO is here. That COMO, that certainty of missing out, is definitely there. I see a lot of companies in the last 18 months who spent a vast amount of money in deploying, Claude and other tools for some cases. I mean, we're a software vendor. We build code. That's how we make a living, and it's incredibly useful. Okay, for some, but other things, it's not the best. And there's been a bit of a tendency to say, well, I'm going to throw everything that I was doing in a deterministic world away because now I can use agentic, and I want agentic everywhere, and I've got agents and agents and agents. And then you realize that agentic technology doesn't necessarily is not the remedy to all your problems. what we provide is a model that combines the tools that you've been using, whether it's an OLAP cube, whether it's an analytics engine, whether it's a graph engine, whether it's a process flow engine, whether it's a columnar database, whether you can take all these tools that you've been leveraging over the last 30 years, one after the other or combined, and now you bring a layer of agentic intelligence that can orchestrate some of these capabilities together in a way that delivers a new unlock in intelligence and real-time ability to operate your business. So use the LLM power to reason wherever you need that reasoning capability, but not everywhere. If you can run a process deterministically, do it. But use the power of agentic intelligence to help you configure and orchestrate that deterministic logic. And that's the problem. It's expensive. It's hard to build deterministic logic. And you're going to have corner cases. And there are situations when you roll this logic for, I don't know, supply demand balancing, you roll it across X number of market units, you have all those corner cases. Well, maybe 80% of your logic can be run deterministically at scale. It costs you nothing. And maybe you need 20% of agentic logic to manage those corner cases. So the solution for us, like every technology, is to go with the hybrid model. You can use the technologies for what they're really, really good at. And one of the values, as I mentioned, of agentic is the ability to use it to configure a complex deterministic process and maintain it. Is the ability to learn. Today in our technology, you learn with what we call auto decision learning, which is basically a machine learning algorithm, which by necessity requires a lot of decisions to be made so that you have enough data so that the system can actually start learning. Well, you combine that with agentic intelligence and you can start learning from much smaller samples. Is this as reliable? No, but it informs you and it can help you start getting, going on the optimization process. So always combine the technologies. Machine learning is not dead. You need agentic, you need machine learning. It depends what you're trying to do. And you've had a tendency to either put a slab of agentic onto an existing stack and calling it agentic. That's not really good. Or build a pure play agentic solution and now you're realizing that you're missing a lot of the core capabilities. What we've done is build a platform that combines those technologies. And then, of course, you talk about tokens and you talk about the ability to configure that, the ability to tell when you build a logic to say, I want to do it in a purely deterministic fashion. I don't want to spend money on this. And from a tokens perspective, you can actually inform the system on how to build the skill itself, build the application itself.
One of the things I thought was so interesting when we looked at some of the latest stuff that you guys have built the other day was the idea that as the person who's making the decision about how I want to build that agent or that skill, I can decide, do I want to make it 20% deterministic? Do I want to make it, as you said, 100% deterministic? Do I want to go with sort of the uber black of agentic LLM? Or can I be much more cost effective, efficient, and deliver faster results with something that's completely deterministically coded?
And again, the challenge of deterministic logic, we're talking about decision logic here. So you think about a process, there is an event or there is on schedule. I'm going to project something. I'm going to use a machine learning. I'm going to forecast. And based on that, I need to analyze the results. And based on that, I need to make some decisions. So this is a complex process. Start with a projection. Well, bring the data, project, analyze. Then if I need to do a transfer between one DC and another one, do I have the time? Well, that's another projection. Do I have all this is a complex process. It works beautifully deterministically. It's once you code it, once you codify it, when you program it in the tool, I use those words purposely, it works, and it works at scale, and it doesn't cost you any tokens, okay? You use some CPUs, you use some GPUs, you do a lot of calculations.
Right.
The challenge is that maintaining that logic when your business evolves is complex. It requires people. Here comes agentic. Here comes agentic logic. Here comes the ability to prompt the system to maybe modify deterministic logic. And that's a very big value that you're unlocking here, because what's slowing companies to adopt some decision intelligence and build them is there are corner cases. You continuously need to adjust. People are not really good at this. We're really good at deploying a software, spending the time, waterfall, agile, you call it, and then we say press the button, change management, enablement, and we're done. But the way you make and execute decisions continuously requires adjustments. So we're not good at this. Agentic can come in. Yes, you're going to burn some tokens, but help you adjust that logic, reprogram, so to speak, your decision logic, test it. That's an incredible value that agentic is adding to. But I could be running the same skill using an autonomous agent or a team of agents and agent functions and burning a lot of tokens. Or I can configure the system to say, whenever possible, use deterministic logic. Faster, cheaper, more reliable. So, and then in some cases, as I was explaining earlier, I need simple agentic capabilities. I need to write an email to one of my suppliers. Well, I'm not going to use deterministic logic for that. Right. Or I need to read a picture, or I need to read an email, or I need to understand weather patterns that are happening. So use it wherever you need to structure, unstructured. Use it to configure your logic. And another thing that we found quite helpful is sometimes you start a project and you think about, what if I could do something? So man, that point, you just try the logic using agentic completely. You're just going to prompt the skill. You're going to prompt that decision 100%. You test it. You see if it's effective. You see if the users are actually finding it useful, because it's really, really fast to do it relative to building, a deterministic logic. Once you've got this skill up and running and you've demonstrated the value and you've done your initial tweaks, then you say, Aera, build that deterministically as much as possible. So use it whenever you need it in the logic. Use it to build and maintain the skill. Use it to test and try a logic before you revert to a deterministic logic, which, as I said, will be faster, cheaper, and more reliable.
And when I'm putting it into runtime deterministically, I don't have to worry about model shift.
Absolutely, 100%. So we're getting to that maturity, I think, somewhere where, and I see our clients saying, well, I built 10 agents using platform A, B, and C, and now I've got agent to agent and MCP. Yes, good luck with that. We're starting to do like a spaghetti bowl of agents. I mean, we predicted that. You need a bit of rigor in that process. It's very difficult to maintain. Again, I think, as always, you go through a hype cycle. I think the promise of this technology is real. What it does is real. We see it as a user in the way it's changing the way the velocity. It's the first time in my career, where engineering is ahead of product management and ahead of product marketing. So first time my partner in crime, Sharik, is ahead of everybody. And we're basically catching up with him, is our CTO. So the impact of the technology is undeniable. When it comes to deploying it in the context of decision making, it adds a tremendous amount of value, but it should not be seen as a panacea that can work on its own. And oh yeah, you have an ontology and you got a bunch of agents and it works on its own. I think we need to caution that a little bit. You talked about cost, you talked about reliability, you talked about, I think the world is going to adjust to, how do I use this technology very well? Like everything, like every new toy that you got. The first day, it's going to solve all the problems. And now it's like, how do I use it in the context of the different engines, the different capabilities that I have? And look, Rebecca, maybe in 2-3 years it will be different. Maybe it will be the panacea, and you'll be able to prompt, and everything will run on its own. But we're not there yet. Data is complex. Decisions are complex, and you need this hybrid capability to leverage it optimally.
So you said 2-3 years. What is this?
I don't. To be candid, I don't know.
What does a successful organization look like 5 years from now?
Well, I give you a bit of a glimpse of what we're building and what we're deploying right now, but it's really an organization where the connection between a policy, I keep going back to the word policy, a strategic decision to do things a certain way, to operate our business a certain way, to, for the next 6 months, make sure that we collect cash faster with this type of customers in this type of markets as opposed to that for this type of clients, we actually increase our focus on service level by doing this and that. So this is what I mean. Like when I make those strategic decisions, that I launch product faster, that I do all this stuff it's what companies do every day, that I think about my business across the value chain. Today, you're still operating in silos by necessity, but I think we're already seeing companies saying, well, if I really want to reduce my excess and my obsolescence of raw material, I have to drive demand in real time. And you're connecting dots that are today very hard to connect. The ability to ensure that one of these changes gets executed and applied, I should say, in real time is the next level. And that means the collapsing of the tech stack with a system of execution and a system of intelligence. And that system of intelligence needs to be able to think across the value chain. It needs to ensure, as I said, that every decision that you make is done in real time in the context of the policies that you set, and that those policies then gets enriched by the actual impact of the decisions that are being made. So that self-driving model is where we're going. There's no ifs and buts about it. I think it's an infra play. It's not an analytics play. It's not an optimization. It's not your AI play. You have to think about it as an infrastructure. It's an infra play. You either deploy the capabilities that allow you to operate like I've just described, because you have deployed the right infrastructure, the same way you think about security, the same way you think, or you're going to be dramatically left behind. And I think the difference between the haves and the have-nots is going to be huge.
Connecting the head of the driver with the steering wheel and the
pedals. I've used this analogy for the last 10 years since we launched the company. I said, welcome to the self-driving enterprise. Now everybody's using the self-driving and the autonomous concept. But it was the easiest way 10 years ago to explain the concept that we're going after. And we're in 2026 today. Think about the evolution. You went from the traditional car with assisted driving to the Waymo, which is absolutely absurd to think conceptually of taking a regular car with a steering wheel, pedals, designed for a human to drive. And then on top of it, you slap several $100,000 worth of material and electronics. So now you would get in a Waymo, which I love, but you see the steering wheel running on its own with no one. And then you've got the Zoox, the next level, which is where we are today, which is a little platform on wheels with no steering wheels. None of the apparatus and the tools that are designed for a human to drive the car are available in the car. So you're saving so much in terms of it's so much more efficient. Now, the brain has been mostly pushed into a server somewhere, and then you have some capabilities at the edge on the car, of course, to operate. We're getting there. So think about your enterprise today thinking, am I doing self-driving capabilities? Am I assisted? Am I slapping some agentic capabilities on top of my Waymo, my regular car, where I'm still relying on humans to drive, but now I've got agentic on top? That's where most companies struggle today.
Yeah.
They're spending the money on the self-driving, quote, quote, agentic capabilities, but they're not able to remove the people from the decision-making processes.
Yeah.
And that's where they look at the cost going up. So they go into outsourcing stuff. They go through all those options that they have, and they're running out of options. So the next 5 years, there will be no optionality. You have to move toward this truly self-driving model, or you're dead. I'm sorry to sound so dramatic on Bastille Day, but that's what I see.
Not the Waymo self-driving, but the real self-driving where I don't.
The Waymo is truly self-driving, but it was a prototype based on a regular car.
Right.
And exactly.
Right.
It's, you get the efficiency. Look, I don't have the numbers. I don't know what the cost of a Zoox is. I see them in San Francisco, and they're in other cities, but it's obviously a fraction of the parts that are needed for the car to run. Think about the decision-making that you do in your enterprises today when you're deploying this technology. Now, it's a leap of faith. Where this conversation is so interesting, I've been pushing this topic for 10 years without the full power of LLMs.
Yeah.
The power of LLMs make that whole story possible.
That's the unlock.
It's what we were missing to make it really possible.
Yeah, that's the unlock. Great. Well, I know we're almost at time, but we have just a few minutes for what we call crunch time. Crunch time. This is the part where I ask the questions that Patrick has for you.
Okay.
First, Fred, no pressure. Are you a dog person or a cat person?
Dog. You got Patrick, I got Archie.
Archie?
Mm-hmm.
That's great. What word or phrase do you most overuse?
Oh my God. In my personal life or in my work life? It's a good question. I mean, the word that we use all the time right now, obviously, is agentic. I don't know if I overuse it, probably.
Oh, I think we could all agree that agentic is probably overused today. And finally, Fred, what is your happiest place?
Where I am right now, speaking to you, because I'm in Hillsburg, California, in my little retreat place. I'm going to a conference about 30 minutes away from here after this call. So I would say California and Hillsburg is probably my happiest place.
That's a great place to be.
Yeah.
And that's a great place to end it for today. Fred, thank you so much for joining us. It was great chatting with you and talking more about when it should be an LLM call and when it should be.
It was fun, and it was great to meet Patrick.
Yeah, great to meet you too, Fred. And thanks everybody for joining, and we'll see you next time.